listen, they know, man. I'm a war baby, man. We talking about this. Hold me up with this, and then I gotta get Mick on the line before Mick gotta do the show real quick, cause Mick gotta go do his show.
Listen, let me cut your hair, bro.
Look, what's up, beloved? You know, man. I know. I'm getting it together though.
Gotta get it together.
You know,
What's good?
what's your look? Before I go in, I want to get your 2 cents.
All right, I watched it 3 times. So we about to talk about this Jay-Z shit real quick. I gotta get out of here in 7 minutes. But look, so he said he thinks that battling should be removed from the entire space, and he feels that way because of how niggas reacted after. He don't like that niggas just trying to ruin a marriage or bringing kids into it. He ain't like that side of it. He want the fans to really look at it from a perspective of, Drake lost, Kendrick won. Let's move on. And have, if you're a Drake fan with Kendrick, if you're a Kendrick fan with Drake, the headlines is making it saying, let's remove the whole thing, and it's making it sound like, let's get rid of battling altogether.
Hold up. But Mick, he kind of did say that though at the end of that.
He did say that, but he said it because of the fans.
Something just went left in the rap world, and this time, it's not just Twitter arguing over who had the better verse. Nah, this feels like a full-blown cultural shakeup. Because when Loaded Lux and Mickey Factz start talking, you already know this isn't just noise. This is the kind of moment that makes even the biggest names sit up and pay attention, and somehow, 50 Cent and Jay-Z just found themselves right in the middle of it. Yeah, that 50, that Jay-Z. 2 names that usually move like untouchable bosses just got dragged into a conversation that's starting to feel way bigger than anyone expected. And the craziest part? It didn't even start loud. It started subtle. Like a spark nobody noticed until the whole room caught fire. Now you know how the internet works. The second someone with credibility speaks up, everything changes. This isn't random gossip from a burner account. This is Loaded Lux, battle rap royalty. This is Mickey Factz, lyrical sniper with receipts energy. So when they start hinting at issues, calling things out, and dropping statements that feel a little too real, oh yeah, people start connecting dots fast, and suddenly, fans aren't just vibing to music anymore. They're questioning everything. The industry politics, the gatekeeping, the alliances, the who really runs what conversations that usually stay behind closed doors. And somehow, 50 Cent and Jay-Z, 2 giants who've mastered the art of control, are now part of a narrative they didn't write. Twitter turned into a war zone overnight. TikTok, full detective mode. Instagram comments looking like a courtroom debate with 0 rules. Everybody's got an opinion and nobody's staying quiet. Because this doesn't feel like just another rap discussion. This feels like layers getting peeled back in real time, and the more people listen to what Lux and Mickey are actually saying, the more uncomfortable it gets, because now the question isn't just what did they say? The real question is, why does it sound like they're exposing something the industry didn't want out? And if that's true, why are 50 Cent and Jay-Z suddenly catching the heat? Now let's break this down properly, because this didn't just come out of nowhere like a random diss track dropped at 3 a.m. Nah, this whole situation has roots. And if you really know hip-hop culture, not just playlists, but the real structure behind it, you already know. There's always been this invisible tension between mainstream power and lyrical credibility. On one side, you've got the industry giants, the hitmakers, the moguls, the ones who don't just play the game, they OW and parts of it. And sitting comfortably in that category? Yeah, 50 Cent and Jay-Z. 2 completely different styles, but both masters of influence, strategy, and staying 10 steps ahead. Then on the other side, you've got the lyricists, the purists, the ones who treat rap like a craft, not just a business. That's where Loaded Lux and Mickey Factz come in. These aren't just rappers, these are thinkers, storytellers, culture protectors. The kind of artists who don't care about charts as much as they care about respect. Now normally, these two worlds coexist. Sometimes they collide, sometimes they collaborate, but there's always been this unspoken line. A balance. But lately, that balance has been looking real shaky. And that's where things start getting interesting, because over time, more and more voices have been hinting that something behind the scenes isn't sitting right. Conversations about gatekeeping, about who gets pushed and who gets ignored, about how the industry rewards certain narratives while quietly sidelining others. And for a while, those conversations stayed in the background until Loaded Lux stepped in. Now, if you know Lux, you know he doesn't just talk for the sake of talking. Every word feels intentional, calculated, like there's meaning layered under meaning. So when he started speaking on the state of the culture, questioning how things are being handled, hinting at power structures that don't sit right, people didn't just listen. They leaned in. And then Factz came through and added fuel to the fire, because Mickey didn't just echo the sentiment, he expanded it. He started touching on specifics, on experiences, on moments that felt a little too real to be brushed off as opinion. And suddenly, what started as a conversation turned into something that felt a lot closer to exposure. And here's where the shift happened. Because as fans started dissecting what was being said, certain names began popping up in the discussion. Not directly called out every time, but heavily implied. And two names kept surfacing over and over again, 50 Cent and Jay-Z. Now let's be clear. Nobody dropped a simple, clean accusation. This wasn't that kind of situation. It was more subtle, more layered. The kind of commentary where you don't say everything outright, but you say enough for people to read between the lines. And oh, people read, because once those names entered the conversation, everything escalated. Suddenly, fans weren't just talking about lyrics or culture, they were talking about power, influence, control, who gets opportunities and who doesn't, and whether the biggest names in the game play a role in shaping those outcomes behind the scenes. And this is where things started getting messy, because you've got two icons who built empires, who've been respected for years, now being pulled into a conversation that questions the very system they helped dominate. And you've got two respected lyricists essentially saying something about this isn't right. That combination? That's explosive, and the reactions? Immediate chaos. Some fans jumped to defend 50 and Jay instantly, saying this is just another case of people trying to tear down success. Others started digging deeper, revisiting old interviews, old statements, old industry moves, trying to see if there were signs they missed before. And then you had that third group, the ones who live for drama, treating this like a full-blown rap civil war, picking sides, creating narratives, and turning every statement into ammunition. But here's the part that made everything feel different. This didn't feel like clout chasing. It didn't feel like random shots for attention. It felt calculated. Like Lux and Mickey weren't just reacting, they were revealing. And once that idea took hold, the entire conversation changed. Because now, instead of asking why are they saying this, people started asking, what did they know? And that question, that's the one that turned this from a discussion into a situation. And just like that, what started as a layered conversation turned into full-blown chaos. Because once the internet locked onto those names, it didn't just discuss them. It dissected them like a crime scene with zero rules and unlimited imagination. Suddenly, every word from Loaded Lux and Factz was being replayed, slowed down, broken apart, and reassembled like fans were trying to decode a hidden message that only a few people were supposed to understand. And here's where it got messy fast. Because instead of clarity, all this analysis created even more confusion. And confusion is the internet's favorite fuel. Because it gives everyone permission to build their own version of the story, one side immediately jumped into defense mode, saying people are reaching, overthinking, and turning poetic commentary into conspiracy theories, arguing that legends like 50 Cent and Jay-Z didn't build empires just to get exposed over vague statements. But then another side came in with a completely different energy, saying, nah, this isn't random, this feels intentional. Like Lux and Mickey are speaking carefully, choosing their words like chess moves instead of checkers, hinting at something bigger without saying it outright. And then the third group, the Chaos Lovers, took things to another level. connecting dots that didn't even look connected at first, bringing up old interviews, past industry rumors, business moves, and random clips like they were uncovering a hidden blueprint nobody else noticed. TikTok completely exploded at this point. Because once creators smelled viral tension, it turned into a content battlefield, breakdown videos, dramatic edits, captions screaming, they saw it too much, and suddenly everybody was acting like they were inside the industry with secret knowledge. Twitter turned into a war zone, with threads longer than documentaries, people arguing in circles, some dropping sarcasm like it's ammunition, others writing think pieces like they're defending a thesis on hip-hop politics, and Instagram comments. Absolute madness because you have fans going back and forth like it was a live debate show. Nobody agreeing, everybody loud, and somehow every opinion sounding convincing depending on who you listen to. Then came the memes. Because of course the internet can't survive without turning everything into entertainment, but even the jokes felt different. They had that sharp edge where people were laughing but also side-eyeing the situation at the same time, because deep down, even the ones making jokes knew this wasn't your usual rap beef energy. This felt like something more layered. Something that touched on how the industry actually moves behind the scenes. Meanwhile, subtle reactions from people in the industry started adding even more mystery. Not direct confirmations, not explosive statements. Just small comments, emojis, vague posts that either fueled speculation or made people even more curious. And that right there made everything feel way more real. Because once insiders start reacting, even slightly, it stops feeling like fan fiction and starts feeling like there might actually be something underneath all this noise. And once that cycle starts, it doesn't stop. Because every new detail becomes another piece of the puzzle. Whether it actually fits or not, and the bigger the puzzle gets, the harder it becomes to separate fact from imagination. Some fans even compared the situation to those moments in the industry where everything looks calm on the surface, but there's tension underneath. Like a reality show where the cameras only show half the story, while the real drama happens off-screen. And that comparison alone made people even more invested. Because nobody wants to feel like they've been watching a polished version of something that's actually way more complicated behind the scenes. Meanwhile, 50 Cent and Jay-Z themselves didn't immediately jump in with clear responses, and that silence became its own storyline, because when two of the most strategic figures in the game don't react instantly, people start wondering if there's a reason. Because let's be honest, if something is completely false, you'd expect a quick shutdown, a statement, a post, something that clears the air before things spiral out of control. But when that doesn't happen, the internet fills the silence with its own narratives. And those narratives? They kept growing, evolving, mutating into different versions depending on who was telling the story. Until the situation started feeling less like a conversation and more like a phenomenon. Because now it wasn't just about what Lux and Mickey said. It was about what people believed they meant. And belief is way more powerful than facts when it comes to internet culture. And right in the middle of all this, the biggest question kept echoing louder and louder across every platform. If there's nothing to this, then why does it feel like there is? Because the energy doesn't lie, and right now, the energy around this situation feels heavy, layered, and unfinished. Like something is still unfolding behind the scenes while the world watches from the outside. And just when it seemed like the conversation couldn't get any more intense, like every angle had already been explored, another unexpected shift started to build. One that nobody saw coming and that threatened to change the entire narrative all over again. And just when it felt like the noise had peaked, like the internet had already stretched every theory to its limit, the entire energy of the situation shifted again. But this time it wasn't louder, it was heavier. Like the conversation went from entertainment to something way more uncomfortable. Because now, people weren't just arguing anymore, they were thinking, reflecting, stepping back and asking deeper questions about what this whole situation actually represents. And that's when things started feeling less like drama and more like a cultural moment. Suddenly, fans weren't just replaying clips, they were reevaluating the entire structure of the industry, questioning who really has power, how influence is used, and whether certain voices have been overlooked or controlled in ways nobody wanted to admit out loud. And that shift, That's when things got serious, because once the focus moves from individuals to systems, the conversation stops being temporary and starts becoming something that sticks around longer than anyone expected. At the same time, the pressure around 50 Cent and Jay-Z started building in a different way. Not direct accusations, not clear-cut blame, but this growing cloud of questions that didn't have easy answers. And that kind of pressure is harder to shake off than any diss track, because when your name keeps appearing in conversations about control, influence, and gatekeeping, even indirectly, it starts to reshape how people look at you, even if nothing is fully confirmed. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. Instead of this turning into a loud public back and forth, it stayed quiet from their side, and that silence became the loudest part of the story, because now, every move they made, every post, every appearance, every business decision started getting analyzed like it was connected to the situation, whether it actually was or not, and that kind of attention creates a narrative of its own. Meanwhile, Loaded Lux and Mickey Factz didn't suddenly flood the internet with explanations either, which only added to the mystery, because it felt like they had already said enough. Like they dropped just enough information to start a conversation, but not enough to close it. And that incomplete feeling? That's what kept everything alive, because people hate unfinished stories. They need closure, they need clarity, and when they don't get it, they keep digging, keep speculating, keep pushing the narrative forward themselves. Fans started splitting into camps again. But this time with more intensity, one side saying this is all being blown out of proportion. Another side convinced this is the beginning of something much bigger. And a third group just watching the chaos unfold, like it's the most unpredictable show on the internet. But here's where it gets deeper. Because beyond the arguments and theories, there was a growing sense that something about this situation hit a nerve in the culture itself. Like it exposed a tension that had always been there, but never fully addressed. The idea that success and control might come with unseen consequences. That the industry isn't just about talent, but also about who gets positioned, who gets supported, and who gets left out. And whether those decisions are as neutral as they appear on the surface. And whether or not any of that is true didn't even matter at this point, because the conversation had already planted the seed. And once a seed like that is planted in the public mind, it doesn't just disappear. It grows. And as it grows, it starts influencing how people interpret everything moving forward. Every new release, every collaboration, every opportunity, all viewed through this new lens of suspicion and curiosity. Then came another unexpected layer. Because instead of everything escalating into chaos, parts of the fanbase started pushing for balance, reminding others not to jump to conclusions, calling out the internet's habit of turning speculation into fact, and trying to bring the conversation back to reality. But even that didn't fully calm things down. Because once a narrative reaches this level, it doesn't need constant fuel to survive. It keeps circulating, evolving, resurfacing whenever something new even slightly connects to it. And right now, that's exactly where the situation sits, not fully resolved, not fully exposed, just existing in this strange space where anything could happen next. And that uncertainty is what keeps everyone watching, because let's be honest, if this was nothing, it would have faded already. And if it was everything, it would have exploded completely, but instead, it's sitting right in the middle, and that's what makes it feel like we're still in the middle of the story. Not at the end. And that leads to the one question nobody can stop asking. What if this isn't the full picture? What if what Lux and Mickey said was just the surface, just enough to start a conversation, but not enough to reveal the full reality behind it? Because if that's the case, then what we're seeing right now isn't the conclusion. It's just the beginning of something that could unfold in ways nobody can predict. And if there's one thing we've learned from moments like this, it's that the truth has a way of coming out slowly, unexpectedly, and usually when nobody's ready for it. So now, the entire culture is watching, waiting, analyzing every move, every word, every silence, because whatever happens next, that's the moment that could change everything. Now, listen. If you made it this far, you already know this isn't just another random rap debate. This is one of those moments where the entire culture feels like it's holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. So I need you to tell me right now, what do you think is really going on here? Because the internet is split in every direction. Some people saying this is nothing but overthinking. Others convinced this is something way deeper that hasn't fully come out yet. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't keep it basic either. I want real opinions, real breakdowns, real theories. Because right now everybody's trying to connect dots that may or may not even belong together. And let's be honest, you've already been watching this unfold like it's your favorite show. So don't just sit there silently, jump in the conversation and let your voice be heard. Also, don't forget to smash that like button like it owes you money. Because you already know this story is not done, and the more attention it gets, the faster new details start surfacing. If you're new here, don't just watch and disappear. Hit that subscribe button and join the movement. Because we don't just cover stories, we break them down, flip perspectives, and give you that raw energy you won't find anywhere else. Turn on notifications too. Because the moment something new drops, and trust me, something always drops, you don't want to be the last one catching up while everyone else is already debating in the comments. This is bigger than headlines. This is the culture, the tension, the reality behind the spotlight that doesn't always get exposed. And remember, this is Fame Blue, where the stories hit harder, the breakdowns go deeper, and the truth. Yeah, the truth always finds its way out. Yeah, the truth always finds its way out.